Good evening and welcome to another episode of Elevated Dialogue here on the Uncle Junior Network. I am the Uncle Junior, and today, actually not to just today, but for the next 6 weeks, we getting together. We're going to have a series of shows. I know some of y'all, we haven't done Elevated Dialogue in a long time, so if y'all are tuning in for your first time, this will be the first time y'all seeing some of these gentlemen up here. They're all part of my wolf pack. They're all different members. They play different roles. We have known each other for different amounts of times and different things like that. But before I get to these gentlemen up here, one thing I want to do is I just want to welcome everybody to the show. If you're in the chat or anything like that, go ahead, hit the like button, the share button, all of those different things like that. But first I want to do is I want to explain the purpose of this series and this podcast. All right. So the purpose of this is a conversation-based series created to bring together men from different generations and life experiences to have honest, respectful, and meaningful discussions centered around one core idea: the conversations every father needs to have with his sons and every young man needs to hear as he grows into manhood. This 6-part series is designed as a foundation for those conversations, covering identity, values, strength, health, money, relationships, and brotherhood. These are the topics that often shape a man's direction in life, but are not always clearly or consistently taught. The goal is not to present perfect answers, but to share real experiences, perspectives, and lessons from men who have lived through different stages of life. By doing so, we create space for honesty, reflection, and growth across generations. At its core, Elevated Dialogue exists to help fathers and mentors better equip the next generation and help young men gain clarity, direction, and understanding as they build with intention. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I am proud to present all of these men up here. What we're going to do, men, we're going to go around the horn. We're going to start with Vic, then we're going to hit Suber, Chauncey, Dr. Easley, and then Walt. What I kind of want y'all to do is I want y'all to kind of introduce yourself. Feel free to share a little bit about your background, maybe your marital status, you got kids, your age, just anything, maybe about 30 to 45 seconds or so, just so the people that are watching can kind of get to know a little bit about you, who you are, your background, and so when they're listening to this conversation, they know a little bit more about you. So with that being said, go ahead, Vic.
Hey, I'm Victor Vinciant. I've created Accountable Masculinity University, and it's a mentorship brand for men trying to identify the disciplined version of themselves. I'm a 3-time author, and I'm married, veteran, 13 years of military service, well, 12 years, almost 13. And I do a lot of content creation, and I'm just here to serve the wolf pack today.
That's on YouTube, George.
All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is George Suber. Let me see. I am a vet myself. Currently, did 20 plus years in post office after military service. Father of 2 young ladies. And man, just living life. I don't know, as time goes, I'm sure I have more to add, but, that's the basics for me right now.
You up, Chauncey?
My name is Chauncey Palmer. I do like content creation, bodybuilding, was boxing for a bit, did reality TV. I'm a father of one beautiful girl named Sunny. She is 3 years old. And that's basically it. I did team mentoring years ago, and that was still here and there. I talk to different teens and stuff just to help them like build the right path and everything in life. Because as I'm still learning, I could try to give as much advice as I can to just make sure that they go on the right track.
Dr. Easley.
Good evening, everyone. Good to see you brothers online. Please forgive my camera, but I do think that's a handsome picture of me, but my camera's not working. So I got this avatar right now. But I'm greeting you all from Raleigh, North Carolina. I am an educator. I'm also a forester, so I work with landowners and farmers to help them with keeping their land, stewarding their land, dealing with taxation and things like that. I'm an author. Have a couple of businesses. One is Mind Heart for Diversity LLC and Easily Branch LLC. Do a lot of work with musicians around the country too, in creating sound, creating content, in that way. And so I'm very happy to be here with you all. I'm also a podcaster. I have a podcast called Heartwood, HeartWood. Happy to be here with the brothers.
All right, and I guess I'll round it out. Greetings and salutations, everybody. My name is Walter Burchett, and you guys can call me Walt. I am a senior manager with FedEx. I've been with them for about 15 years. That's my day job. But at night, I got 4 kids, 2 natural and 2 bonus kids. I'm newly engaged and looking to start a new life with my new love of my life. And kids are 17, 15, 13, and 7. So all up and down the board there. So my night job, I'm a writer. I'm a published author of 5 books, including Be a Man, She's the Man, and Russie and Mandy. You can find all my books on my website, wburchett3.com. And I'm excited to be here, proud to be a part of the Wolf Pack. I went to NC State, so I know a little bit about being a part of a Wolf Pack. I played in the marching band there, so Wolf Pack pride right here. So I look forward to these conversations, and we're going to have some fun.
I like it, man. I like that. So a little bit about me, Garfield Martin. I married, second time, 20-year military vet. Actually met George and Vic in the military. And I met Dr. Easley by way of the military while I was stationed at NC State, where Dr. Easley was working at. So it's funny how we all are connected here today. But I just want to say, first of all, I thank y'all from the bottom of my heart for when I sent out the email, the text message, or whatever like that. You guys jumped on board and were willing to participate and be a voice for whoever listens to this. So first of all, I definitely appreciate you all for doing that. But a little bit more about me. I started podcasting a few years ago. I had this show called Elevated Dialogue. Vic and Dr. Easley, actually us 3, we were the first show. And there was, I don't even know, 21 or 2019, 18. I don't even remember what year it was. It was a while ago. And we
November
did there
21.
for November 21. Dang, yeah. So that was almost, it was a bit ago. So we had our first show. We did our first episode. We did that for a couple of years or so, and then I stopped. And then I did a show called Coach's Corner. But a few weeks ago, I was like, you know what, I kind of want to get the band back together, maybe give some new blood and just have a little quick series, go in and get out. And just see what conversations we can have, what new and updated conversations we can have. A lot of things have changed over the last few years, but so that's kind of the reason why all of this stuff is happening today. So again, gentlemen, from the bottom of my heart, I really appreciate that. Before I forget, all y'all stay after the show real quick. I got want to chat with y'all real quick before we roll out, because it'll be the end credits, and then just give me like 5 minutes or so, or maybe even less. But with that being said, gentlemen, is there anything that you guys want to share or talk about or say before we get started in today's conversation?
Nope.
All right. All right. So with that being said, again, welcome to Elevated Dialogue, where real men from different generations come together, have honest conversations that challenge, encourage, and inspire the next generation. So the first thing we're going to do, gentlemen, is I want to go around the table, and I just want to start with hold on, let me cut this thing off. I want to start with this one question. So whoever wants to start this question, feel free to do so. This is kind of like an icebreaker. If you're in a chat or you're in the comments or something like that, feel free to answer this question too. So in one word, complete this sentiment, gentlemen, and then elaborate on it a little bit more. So complete this sentence. One word that describes the man I'm trying to become is blank.
I can kick it off. I had a little trouble thinking about the right word for this, but for me, the one word that I want to describe me is purposeful. I want to leave a lasting legacy for my family. And one of the things that someone told me not long ago is, how would you like to be remembered? And for me, I just want to be remembered. So when you think about it, you got your loved ones that pass on. Um, you kind of have two deaths: the actual physical death of a person, and then the last time that someone remembers that person or anything about that person's life, that person passes away again because there's no more memory of them existing on this plane. So for me, I want to leave some type of purpose for my family to move forward with. And my thoughts, my writings, my work won't be forgotten over hopefully the next 100 years.
Dang, purposeful. That's a powerful one. I ain't even that wasn't even nowhere near on my radar. I like that one. Go ahead. Who's next? You want to hit it up?
I'll go next. I would say knowledgeable, and not in the book sense, or things I can learn in certain ways. I'm just speaking about myself. Um, how I can learn more about myself, what kind of person I am, how I go about just living my life, just knowing more about myself, and whether or not, I'm the person I think I am, whether or not I'm actually doing the right things, because, I've been thinking a lot lately, man. You know, people tend to choose sides, and when they choose these sides, everyone always tends to think that they're right, and of course I do as well, so that's why I would say I'm just trying to be more knowledgeable, because if I have anything that may need to be fixed, I want to know, and because, I don't know, that I may, to me, I'm good, but, I don't really know that, because from someone else's perspective, I may not be, you know so that's where I am right now. Just when I'm thinking about certain things, I'm thinking nowadays if my perspective is actually the right one. So just I would say knowledgeable, of myself more than anything.
What you got, Vic? You got a good one.
Legend.
Legend?
Yeah, I want to be a legend, man. Like I look at it like this, man. We talk all of the time, and it's part of the I think when you capture in one word, it implies everything else. Like Walt said, purposeful. And as a writer, I understand that, in the sense of completing something from start to end. And then being able to live with the regret of the thing that you didn't put in there too, because there's no matter how much it is that we do say, there's so many things that we don't say. And that's got to be captured in the way that you live out loud, because so many great voices were cut off before they got a chance to speak. And there are people that's smarter than us that have lived and died and couldn't figure out the problems that we've, been toiled with all our lives, right? Um, and contained within being a legend, it is being purposeful, disciplined, um, very methodical, meticulous, not letting things get by you, living and dying with whatever decision that you make, no matter how long it takes for it to come out in the wash to, make you feel validated in the decision that you make. Um, and like I think it's a crime and a shame personally for a man to reach a certain age in his life and not be able to teach anybody anything. Everybody can learn from a legend, you know, and if if nobody if you don't do anything to make yourself legendary, does anybody even know that you were here? Nobody nobody remembers. Everybody that gets remembered is legendary in some sort of way, you know. So does the work you do while you're here and with the opportunities that you get, do they accumulate to you becoming a legend? You know what I'm saying, in your own way. And the only way you're gonna make people remember you is you do something legendary.
I like it. So right now we have purposeful. I ain't took my glasses off. Knowledgeable and legend. All right. All right. I like it.
Vic literally stole mine. I tell you, I was gonna say that. I was like, no, let me think a little further down.
No,
So
man. Hey, you got to
Yeah.
be bold. Let me tell you something, man. You got to be bold because
it's
there's
all
so many
good.
more people waiting to cut you down for even when you temper yourself and you think it's being humble and being nice. There's no value in that, in my opinion. Because they're gonna be mad at anyway. So you might as well go for the gusto every time.
You want to say
Uh,
go for the gusto. What you got, Chauncey? I want to hear what you got to say. Chauncey, the
Uh,
young buck out
it's
here, bro. Chauncey, the only one
yeah.
I think got a 2 in front of his age.
oh gosh.
But which is
uh,
great because
Absolutely.
his
It is.
perspective especially, and here's another reason why I invited you, Chauncey, because of your age and stuff like this. And I've seen you and I've known you for a couple years. Chauncey, one of my nephews. So it's just he's in a totally different space than where I was at his age. His age, I was married, I had a kid, I was in the army. You know what I'm saying? I was struggling. You know what I'm saying? So I think that, one of the things we had a conversation a couple years ago was that one of the disconnect between the youth and people my age and our age was that the old folks don't listen to the young folks, or they think that they got it all figured out, or it's like me telling Chauncey, yeah, man, you need to go to the army, bro, and do 20 years like me. But these young dudes, they on a whole different vibe. They on a different wavelength, and they got taught different lessons than us. So one of the main reasons why I wanted him on here was because of his age and his youth, but his experience, his knowledge, and everything, and his discipline that I've seen him over the last few years. And I thought that he would be a great value, a great add to the conversation. So with that being said, I know I've been kiss your butt a little bit, Chauncey, bro, but
Yeah.
go ahead, man. I kind of want you,
It's
So
I'm gonna give you a little bit
it's
of
kind of
flowers,
like
bro.
thank you. It's kind of like two words, but it goes together. I would say God fearing, um, and the reason why I say that is just because I feel like I am still on a journey of really knowing myself through faith. So that I think that is the ultimate goal for me is being a man of faith and really like just 100% like just being all in and everything like that, knowing no matter the trials and tribulations, the questions. I think that's just yeah. I think that's just one main thing I would want. What I'm trying to trying to be ultimately.
Dr. E, you want to round us out?
Yes, sir.
All right.
One word that describes the man I'm trying to be is wise. Um, I love seeking knowledge because I do it every day. I like learning new things, and I like sharing and teaching. But I think more importantly, one thing I don't want to do is I don't want to go astray, and I don't want to lead anyone astray. And so and I think that right or wrong sometimes is more about how you were raised, not necessarily what's actually right or wrong. It's just more like how you were raised. Whereas if it's wise, we're gonna have a different conversation. What you think is wrong might actually be right in that moment. And so I want to be wise. I guess I want to be like Solomon. I love what like what Brother Chauncey just said. So my favorite person to study in the Bible is David. Like I love to like not Jesus, actually David. Because he's the one I think we all have the most in common with. But the way that he worked to be, I think, a man of God is something that I, strive to. And then the wise comes in, whether we're talking Jesus or Isa, depending on what faith that you have. Then it's like that's the image to me of like wisdom incarnated. With how you engage with other people, how you get people to listen to you, how you get them to grow, how you get them to look themselves in the mirror, but also how you do it by always challenging yourself every day, all of the time. So I want to be wise. I think it makes me a better me, and it's something that I can never outgrow or graduate from, which is wisdom.
Man, I definitely appreciate all of those different perspectives and all those different words. We had purposeful, knowledgeable, legend, God fearing, and wise. My one I'm going to close it off with is here. And when I mean here or alive. You know, I am 50 years old right now and I have 3 sons, but we don't have any men in my family that made it to 70. You know, most of the men, they died in their 60s or earlier. You know, there were drug use and, you know, a bunch of different reasons why those men, you know, didn't make it. But, you know, as a man, you know, at 50 years old, you know, I can't call, I lost my dad in 2018. So I can't call anybody and say, hey dad, what's going on, yada yada yada. I miss that. You know, sometimes, you know, I've said it before, I get mad at him and get pissed off at him because he's not here. And I think that that's okay. You know, but the reality of it, I still love him and stuff like that. So it's really important for me to do what I can when it comes to my body, when it comes to my mind, when it comes to just a lot of different things, finances, all of that stuff, to be able to be here. So my sons, when they're 50 and they got 50-year-old problems, they can call me and say, Dad, look, I got this 50-year-old problem and I don't know how to deal with it. Where I can talk to them, I can rationalize with them because I've been there before. So my one word that describes the man I'm trying to become is just here. I want to be here. And I think, you know, with everything that everybody says, I think all of these things combined together makes a great person. If you got a man who is striving, he's God-fearing, you know, he's becoming wise, he's trying to live a lifestyle to where he's ultimately trying to become a legend, he's knowledgeable and purposeful. I think that creates a great type of man. So if anybody who's watching this, you know, if you hadn't wrote down those 6 things, you know, shame on you. So, gentlemen, anything you guys want to add to the conversation, questions, or anything like that? Nope. All right. So here's another one. Next thing we're gonna do, we're gonna kind of talk about values a little bit. So I'm just gonna do a blanket statement, and feel free to chop it up, ask another personal question, just however you want to do it. Every man is becoming someone, whether he's intentional about it or not, and definitely go in details about it.
Uh, you winning your little bag this time, huh? You know, trying to get some
Uh-huh.
engagement out of this.
Yeah. I
I
don't
say,
want to have a question and answer. I want to have a conversation with y'all.
all
You know
right.
what I
So
mean? I don't want to do question and answer.
this is this is my take. Um, and I wish I had my book on me because I didn't say prep for this because where I'm
Which
working at.
one?
But
I got all 3 of your books. Which one?
oh well, yeah, you know which one it is. The one in the middle, the one that matched the
This one?
logo. Go ahead. That's what I'm
This
talking.
one?
No, hey, but yeah, we're gonna go with that one right there. So read the cover of that book.
The cover, Accountable
Yep.
Masculinity, Identifying the Disciplined Man Inside You.
Okay. So I think this this prompt right here, every man is trying to become someone, whether he's intentional or not. And the intentional or not is the choice between being disciplined and undisciplined. Like, if you don't want to be anything, you're still intentionally not becoming something. You know what I'm saying? You know, like how not making a choice is still a choice, right? And it's either out of fear, lack of knowledge, or lack of will, right? But if you stay on that side and that's not what you want, don't talk down on people that want something else if they're motivated to go get it, right? So if you're intentional, you get more results. But intention without discipline is just talking and it's just a performance. Like you gotta have some outcomes that go along with the conversation, right? Like Chauncey came in and he said, "Hey, I need to eat because I'm working on, you know what I'm saying? I got a show in 3 days and then another one in a couple of weeks." He's being very intentional and prioritizing what's going on. You know what I'm saying? So the conversation needs to be healthy, just like whatever he's consuming. You know what I'm saying, to grow for the same reasons. So if you intentionally put the wrong things into your mind, into your body without moderation or offsetting it, then you're still becoming something that you probably don't want to see anyway. But if you're intentional about an outcome that reflects something that you put your mind to, your effort to, that requires discipline. You know, there's nothing there's nothing of value. There's nothing that gets worse when you add discipline to it. Nothing. So when you think about intentions, you got to think about, is that person's mind already operating on a lack of discipline, or is their intent righteous, or is it self-righteous? Like if you write the word discipline and undisciplined on either side of a line, you can't come up with good words that follow underneath the word undisciplined. There's nothing positive under the word undisciplined that you can use as a synonym at all.
What's up, KD? Welcome to the show, brother. You muted. I can't hear you.
How y'all doing? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. I can
Yes,
hear
sir.
you. Just
What's up, fellas? What's going on?
what's good, man? Take about 30, 45 seconds, kind of introduce yourself to the panel and the chat and stuff like this. Then we're gonna move on with the show, brother.
Yeah, we could do that at the end if you want. I ain't want to interrupt
Nah.
nobody, man.
No, man, you ain't interrupting, man.
Vic, what's up, man?
What's going on?
What's going on?
Yeah,
Ain't
so
nothing,
just take about 30, 45 seconds, kind of introduce yourself, a little bit about yourself, and let us know who KD is.
Yeah, man. So again, my name is KD, man. I'm a retired Army veteran. Right now, I'm went into the social work field. So kind of my background right now, or second career, if you will. And got a wife, 4 kids, 43. I'm just here, man, enjoying the conversation. I've been in the background listening and stuff, man. So it's been some good conversation, man.
All right. Well, appreciate that, man. Definitely appreciate you being here. Appreciate you stopping by to hang out with us for about an hour or
Yeah.
so, man. Definitely looking
Yeah,
forward to
man.
whatever you have to say. So
Yeah.
the question we on right now, you can jump in if somebody else was next and they itching to go, then go ahead. But the not the question, but the statement on the table right now is every man is becoming someone, whether he's intentional about it. You know, Vic, one of the things that I kind of picked up from you, which I think I may have heard, was you said whether they're intentional about it or not. So even if you're not being intentional about progressing in your life, then you're still being intentional, even if your intentions is sitting in your mom's house in the basement playing games. You still being intentional doing that. That kind of right? Bet. All right,
Yeah,
got it.
absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Who else got this? Who want to take a stab at this right here? Every man is becoming someone, whether he's intentional about it or not.
You know, for me, I think about as an individual, when you wake up in the morning, what are you going to do to make yourself better? How are you going to grow? And if you are comfortable with just the status quo about just going to punch in at work, do the same thing, going home, eating the same 3 meals you eat every week, there's no growth in that. And like Vic was saying, discipline. If you are disciplined enough to make sure that you're doing something to progress your life, to, like he said earlier, become a legend one way or the other, that's intentional. Now, you can be that person who just clocks in, clocks out, just do the same old, but that's also intentional. And people like that tend to just stay where they are in life. But for me personally, I always think about growing, getting better. I lost a great deal of weight over the last year, some change, and I had to be intentional about it. Going to the gym 3-4 times a week, making sure I'm eating the right foods. And when I do eat the wrong foods, I'm like, that's a little celebration I can do for myself for that time being, but I got to get right back at it. So I know every day I look at my son and telling him every day, you got to do something to make yourself better. So that's my whole thing.
Rocking with this.
Yeah, like I recently.
All right.
had,
So,
like, oh shit. Oh, my bad.
oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you good.
I was just going to ask a question. I don't have a statement, so you can go ahead. I just had a question.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Chauncey, and then George, you go.
I was just gonna say I recently had to I recently started like living on my own. Like I was in a relationship, we ended up separating. Um, so I had to really take the time myself to learn how to live with more intention, with not with everything within every area besides just a gym, besides just work and because I started seeing a lot more things in my life that I need to be more present for, and the only way to do so was by being more intentional with just how I went about each day. Again, just waking up in the morning, making sure that each moment of my day is purposeful. Because yeah, I noticed a lot of moments I was too comfortable, and I was just letting days just go by without really being here in the moment. And so yeah, no, I think one of the biggest things is I'm still learning on how to be more intentional as well. To be honest.
Word up. What was your question, George?
My question is, what are you doing to be more intentional? Like Vic said, you have to be disciplined and all that kind of stuff. So I know you have some books that you've written. You're an author. I've always had intentions on doing so myself. I just never got around to doing it. Um, so what would you say would be maybe your process, or how you're going about it to be disciplined? And so as of right now, man, I'll be upfront. I'm pretty much on terminal leave from the post office. I'm in the process of retiring. But I've been that way for a minute now. Which I'm completely fine with. Trust me. But even since then, man, it's like my time has been completely taken, and that's just with no job. Like even right now, we just moved into a new house, and man, I had to stop what I was doing into this new house, because we're gonna try to get it a certain way before we move in. Man, I've been painting and all that kind of stuff all day, so I stopped what I was doing. But even now with not even having a job anymore, and on my way to being happily retired, man, I still don't have time, it feels like, so, and, I do have two daughters, 7 and 11, which, they keep me pretty busy, of course, soccer dad kind of thing I done turned into recently, but man, what do y'all do to stay on track, to write books and things like that, and to be disciplined, like sleep schedule, even what you eat and things like that?
Be selfish.
I outsource everything I don't want. I outsource everything I don't want to do because it takes time away from my creativity. You got to figure out what works for me is that anything that requires labor but takes me away from what I'm most creative at and what I'm most the one thing I can do in my sleep. Like if I can wake up with a new idea and put it into motion or put it into thought or put it into play, I believe in intellectual property, because that's what's going to teach the next generation, whether you're here or not. Like, and what I mean by being creative, and I talk about being a legend, right? Legends transcend time. Like you can go right now and click on Farrakhan. You can go look at some Martin Luther King, anybody that's been a great orator in the past, right? Um, and you can still get something from the teachings long before your parents was even born, probably. You know what I'm saying? So they still have impact long after they're gone. You know what I mean? And what they did was they outsourced the things that they would have to do for themselves so they can focus on what was the main. They made the main thing the main thing. So like if like you talking about painting the house and all of that stuff and getting it ready, I would pay somebody to do it. Like I used to be a real estate investor, still am. I'm not doing it. I can do it. I don't want to. I know enough about it so I can tell somebody with that not meeting a certain expectation and I can hire and fire, I learn enough about something to where I have enough knowledge of it that where, what I'm saying, it'll keep me from somebody getting over on me. And the things I don't know how to do and I don't have time to learn, but I know that they're important to learn, I outsource it.
Outsourcing is good. I heard Walt say something that is, I think, is a very unpopular opinion. So Walt,
Absolutely. Yeah.
say again, what did you say in response to George's question?
Listen, as a man, I understand that we have to do things for other people because that's the way that we're all brought up. But we have
Here's
to
his book right here.
we have to be selfish at times. We have to carve out time for ourselves. You hear it all the time. People, I got to do this for this and do that for that person. But at the end of the day, when you lay down to go to sleep, you got to think about, hey, what did I do for myself to keep this intact? So you got to be selfish. For me, I plan out my time for the gym, usually an hour and a half, for 3 to 4 days a week. But then you got to look at all the other times that you have in the day you got to work, you got to eat, you got to clean, you got to do different things. But for me, I am selfish with my time. When my lady wants to do something, I'm like, look, I got 2 hours where I have to do this. If I don't do this, my mind's not going to be settled. So my kids, the same way. My son wants me to pick him up from football practice. Hey, why don't you get your friend to bring you home from practice? Okay. So there's another 30, 45 minutes that I don't have to do something like that for my kids. Dinner. My daughter's 17. Cook, girl. Kind of like Victor said, got to outsource some things, but then you also got to be selfish. So, gentlemen, if there's one thing you can take away from my conversation today, be selfish because nobody's going to do it for you.
Yeah,
But I think
I'm with him 100%. But here's why I want to add. The only thing I want to add to the being selfish, when you say that, and at least what I'm hearing, it doesn't. And I believe 100% that men do need to be selfish about some stuff. But selfish, when people hear that, they just mean neglect. Selfish doesn't mean neglect. Just because I'm prioritizing these 2 hours to get it in, it doesn't mean I'm neglecting my duties as a father, as a wife, as my job, or anything like that. But we do have to prioritize stuff for ourselves. So again, hats off to both of those comments. I like both of them. Outsourcing and being selfish with your time.
One more thing, and the reason I say outsourcing, because you can't have the least amount of resources and think that you can make the rules. So if you're responsible for whether it's something succeeds or not, it's still your responsibility. So if you got the majority of the resources and you're the one that's in demand, book an appointment.
and I will say, yeah. No, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say this real quick. Look, I know the outsourcing thing, that's a great thing, man, but I'm kind of, man, tight with my money. So it's like, I feel like if I could do something and save me a couple dollars.
It's funny because I was just getting ready to touch on that too. Sometimes outsourcing is cool, but you got to have the means, right? But with that being said, I think everything that everybody said comes right back around full circle to being intentional about all those things, right? If I'm intentional about outsourcing, I got to be intentional about being selfish with my time, right? I got to be intentional about these things. If you know you have this many hours in a day and you have to get certain things done, well, then I'm going to put a time limit on these things, right? So whether I get it done or not, I've already made progress in that area, but when that time is up, I got to move on to something else. It just depends again on how important that needs to be done that day or whatever the case may be. But again, I think it comes right back around to being intentional overall about all of those things. And I'm with you. I'm frugal. I say frugal, so I'm frugal with mine, man. And so I'm with you. If I can do it, then I'll do it. But again, I'm also leaning with Vic as well. Some things I just don't feel like doing. I can get out here and cut my grass. Some days it's too hot. I don't feel like it. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna just find somebody else to do it. Or it's gonna have to, you know what I mean? So I agree with you guys wholeheartedly. But then again, just dragging it back around and being intentional about those things that you need to get done. And I'm always saying put a time limit on it and get intentional with your calendar too. Because those things help.
The word intention again.
One of the things that I often tell myself now is I'm worthy of it. I think a lot of times, especially men, because we do provide so much, that we kind of get into just into that rhythm of always kind of doing and giving to others. And one of the things, like I look at my father, who's a great man, and I have to remind him a lot of times to take care of himself because he did so well taking care of us. And sometimes men need that, and the reason why I think that goes back to the whole being intentional is I think sometimes like that. I think that's sometimes probably the undergirding thing that is preventing us from doing some things is that we don't believe that we can. It's not that we can do it. We don't think that we're like it's for us to do. And I just want to challenge that, for anyone, who actually thinks that. And I think that then that goes too, because I'm worthy of it, then I do deserve in this moment to be selfish and then to put the time aside for the things that I want to do so I can exercise the discipline to be better. And so for me, I would say like if I don't do that, it's the root of it is thinking whether or not I'm worthy of it. And I believe that we all are, especially if you're taking care of everything. I think if you add to be on the surface about it, everything, about you taking care of it all, then you're definitely there because you're the one who is providing for others. So that's my little sense.
I want to hear the young man take, the young bodybuilder take, because one thing I've always heard is bodybuilding is one of the most selfish sports out there. I've always heard that, even from when I had trainers and stuff back in the day. So definitely want to hear what Chauncey has to say in response to George's question about the discipline.
Yeah, no, I also had a question too, because
Mm-hmm.
it definitely is, it definitely is a selfish sport. And, I was boxing before this too, and that's also selfish. So I came from
Anything
like,
individual
fairly.
seems like you have to be.
Exactly, and it's like the
Mm.
loneliest sports for both of them. So it does. My question for that was honestly like, where's the fine line between being too selfish and being like selfish enough to where you're still able to again be proactive in other areas in your life? Because I felt like one problem that was happening in my past relationship is that I was too selfish with my time because I was over here eating, make sure I had to eat every meal, 6 meals a day. I had to make sure I was at the gym for 4 hours and do all these things for the career, right? But when I got home, I'm tired. I don't have no time. I can't. My daughter is 2 years old, or she's three now, but she's 2 years old. I'm too tired even to even handle any crying, anything of that nature. I just want to come home and sleep. So it got to a point where it was too selfish. So I just had a question like, where is that fine line of like how what would your opinion be on like how to like be able to still be selfish but still make time for those other important things in life?
There's there's definitely some checks and balances that goes into it. For me, I had to learn the hard way with my first marriage. Just like you saying, I was a little too selfish too. So I had to learn to say, okay, I can't pour all my stuff into just this thing. I do have a family. I do have a wife. I do have other obligations outside of work and my own personal things. But there is a fine line. But what you have to do is you have to communicate. And if you don't communicate with your partner, you don't communicate with your family, let them know that, hey, um, I need to do this for myself during this time frame. Then being selfish doesn't seem like it's being selfish to them. It's like, oh, he's got to take care of business there. So
Yeah.
I would say the first thing you got to do is communicate. And being selfish to you doesn't seem like it's selfish to them at that point.
It
Okay, because
also
yeah,
it almost comes off as a compromise, right?
yeah,
More so. But then also I think when it starts affecting relationships that you care about, and when it start affecting your life in other areas, then that could be getting close to that fine line. That's just my take on it. And then you got to go back to the drawing board and figure out, like, what you said, Walt, right?
Yep.
Like you were saying, going back and figuring out, hey, how do I compromise? And again, that goes back to that using that time, right? Hey, you want to do something at this time? I'm gonna carve out this time, but after this time, now I got to get back to this and this and that, right? So, I'm a allot 2 to 3 hours with you to do whatever you want to do, and then I'll work everything else around that. And again, you're being selfish about it, but you're compromising, so it comes off a little bit different, right? It's not about what you say; it's how you say it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because
Absolutely.
ultimately,
Yeah, I don't know where the line is, Chauncey, just to be honest. I'm on my second marriage too. I thought that I didn't want, it wasn't my intent in my first marriage to get divorced. We were married for 19 years. I am so glad that I am though, because I'm good over here now. But I say that to say that I was in the military for 20 years. I'm in Iraq. I'm gone. You know what I mean? There are times where I can't. I have to be selfish. There are some things that the other person is just going to have to understand. There are some things that are going to be non-negotiables, and there are sometimes we don't choose the person that understand or supports our vision or where we want to be in the future too. And that's the reality of it too. You know what I'm saying? Because just with the bodybuilding from outside looking, I remember a few years ago, like in 16, 17, I was going to do a show and I was training, bro. And it's a lot of work. Like it's not as easy as like Walt, his journey is different than Chauncey's. Chauncey's about to go get his pro card. So he's dialed in 100%. And that's a little bit different than the 2 hours at the gym a day and then the meals during the day. Like with that, there's posing, there's workouts, there's sleeping, there's massages, there's the suctioning, there's all of these other things that go into it that take away so much time. It's almost like a job. And I think that maybe with the communication piece that Walt and Katie was talking about, maybe that person needs to understand is, hey, look, I know you don't understand it, but maybe we can look at some videos. Maybe you can get a little bit more understanding. Maybe you guys can be part of whatever it is we going on. Because if I'm the man, if I'm the head of the household, if I'm being selfish, but I'm being selfish is helping to put us in a better situation. Like my 20 years of selfishness caused me to be in the situation that I'm in right now. It cost me my marriage, but my relationships with my sons are good. And my relationship with my new wife is good. So I understand everything that those gentlemen are talking about. And I'm not talking about your specific situation, but I also want to say to the other side of that is sometimes we are not in relationships with people who support our vision and our dream, or they may support us and want to, but they don't understand. And that's where the conversation and the communication comes into play.
Yeah, because I definitely worked
Not 2
on
cents.
communication. Like, again, since I've been living by myself, I had a lot of time to reflect and think and really work on a lot of stuff. So, like, one of my main things, like, with like going, like, this is my about to be my third show back to back, by the way. So I did one in April, and one of the main things is, of course, the last few weeks you're barely eating, barely drinking water, so you're just out of it. Like even right now, very much out of it. But one of the main things was like communicating with her still, because obviously I'm a father, so I got to make sure that I get my FaceTime calls and everything. That these next, like these few days and everything, I will not be. I'm going to be out of it. I might miss phone calls. I might not answer. I might not even call. Um, and I think we came to an agreement. I think it's been a lot better on that aspect, because I think now there's more of an understanding of like this, like what I'm doing as far as like my timing and scheduling and stuff like that. Still some areas where it's not really understood yet, but it's obviously a work in progress.
And I think those two have to be conversations early on, right? If this is something you've always been doing before I met you, you have to understand what comes along with what I'm doing. and what type of discipline comes along with that, or what you're going to be sacrificing also, not you specifically, but your significant other, because it's going to be a sacrifice on that end also, right? And so if I'm telling you this up front because I know how grueling it is to be in these competitions, then you have a choice to kind of make, because I understand what my goal is. So I would say that that has to be something early on and not later. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
absolutely.
I think you have to ask yourself which are, because are you sacrificing other people for what you want, or are you sacrificing, like you might be sacrificing something, you trading something to get something, right? Um, there's just no way, you know what I'm saying, you can get it. You exchanging your time to work on your body, then you break your body so you can, do it again. And at some point, from the outside looking in, you have to be more objective. Because if you're a driven person, it's easy to run over people. You understand what I'm saying? You gotta empathize, and everybody says communication is key. I believe comprehension is key, because a lot of people just be talking and be performing, listening to respond. I hear you, but saying that and being really unwilling to accept what the other person is saying. Somebody's not as willing to compromise, because, like, think about it. If it's your idea, you can't get mad if she don't care. You have to learn how to live with that. You know what I'm saying? Just like she may have something that you might be completely disinterested in. You have to draw a boundary and say, I don't really care to interact with that. You know what I'm saying? She might like watching a certain type of TV show, but for her, it's important for you to sit down and do it. And it might not rest well with your morals or whatever it might be, whatever boundary that you have, right? Women have no problem telling men what they don't like and still expecting the same level of participation and enthusiasm as if it was your idea too. You know what I'm saying? So you got to be comfortable with living with regrets, because contrary to popular belief, or maybe no man has ever introduced this, but I don't believe a man's life is supposed to be easy. Like, you're supposed to solve problems every day. Every day, that is just your life and your mission, whether you with somebody or not. When you by yourself, the only reason that life is easy is because you get to solve your own problems. Because men find satisfaction in putting the puzzle together. You know what I'm saying? Whether you with somebody or not, self mastery is not easy, and you're gonna have to learn how to teach your language to someone else. You understand what I'm saying? That's why comprehension is the word that I use, because you're both speaking English, but you got different levels of emotional discipline. Because discipline is everything gets better when you add the word discipline to it. Because, like, you can have an emotional conversation, but if you undisciplined with your emotions, somebody going to jail. So you got to figure out which regrets are you okay with. You have to look at the future, and you have to choose the hard right decision that you can live with.
I'm over here looking. We still on like the first prompt, which is a good thing. 'Cause that means the conversation is rolling. I'm trying to decide. I kind of wanted to go into the strength portion, but I think I'm gonna change gears. So let's do this one. True or false, gentlemen? Feel free to elaborate. Discipline is more important than motivation. Um, yeah, this one is more important. The reason why I want to go here, because there's a lot of different things on YouTube, on TikTok, on a lot of different platforms, and they talk about motivation. And then there are platforms and there are different people and YouTube or whatever, and they talk about discipline. So, in you guys' opinion, as we're talking about and having this conversation, True or false? Discipline is more important than motivation. I already kind of think I know what the answer is.
Yeah, I say true, of course, because motivation's an emotion. It's a feeling.
Mm,
So that comes and goes literally every day. So the discipline is ultimately what should be driving you. So yeah, if you have no discipline, you have there's it's literally you're going to
yeah.
a dead end literally wherever you go. So or wherever you try to go or whatever or not at all. So yeah, no, I say discipline is definitely more important than motivation.
Okay.
I'd like to
I
jump
say
in.
that, that's probably, not even really up for debate. I would say, the thing that you can really dive into a little bit deeper is, what do you do to be more disciplined? Like, routine, establishing a routine. I would say that would be, looking into, that might be a little better question for me at least, because I just don't think, man, motivation, that's pretty fleeting, That's not
Mm-hmm.
something that, man, you can really depend on, you know.
Yep. 100%.
What do you do to maintain that discipline,
Yeah. I will tap into that part of it after I answer this. I would just say discipline to it. Like Chauncey said, and everybody else probably like motivation, like comes and goes. It's just a feeling. Just I don't necessarily throw out all motivation. I do like motivation for what motivation is. I like motivation. David Goggins says something about motivation is like the kindling. It's what's the starter. So if motivation is what gets you to start going to the gym, I'm fine with that. But at the end of the day, if you ain't got that D word over there called discipline or consistency and stuff like that, then the motivation is going to wear out, and then you can be back on the sidelines again, staring inside Planet Fitness or looking at your black car, wondering why you're not going today. You know what I'm saying? So, just for me, and some of the things that I've always talked about and tried to teach people when it comes to discipline is one of those things is building a schedule. Someone kind of mentioned something about get something with your calendar. When you have a schedule, when you have, I wake up at 4 o'clock. I'm out the bed by 4:15 to give me 10 minutes, 15 minutes to snooze or whatever. If you a snoozer, I got my shoes on by 4:30, and then by 4:35, I'm on a treadmill, I'm on a track, I'm whatever. I'm back by 5:30. By 6 o'clock, I'm showered and shaved and did my poop and whatever. By whatever time, I think when you're trying to build discipline, especially if you don't have discipline, one of the things that helps with that is a routine. You build and you brush your teeth every morning out of habit. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes discipline and habit can kind of work together. They're at least cousins. You know what I'm saying? So I habitually get up in the morning and do something at least 5 to 7 days a week. You know what I'm saying? Certain times I do more than other, but one of the biggest things that I've learned and that people have benefited from that have let me know is having a routine, having a structured, detailed routine or plan to guide your day will help with your discipline. That's what I believe. Any other you gentlemen got any other keys or thoughts on how to gain or how to become and get more disciplined?
Yes.
Um,
It was something that happened recently with me. You ever have a day when you wake up and you feel, if you've ever had this, like either some people call it depressed, but you feel heavy. It's like don't feel like you can do the thing that you know that you want to do. Well, I had one of those days recently, and I let it, and I got to say it like that because I do believe in self mastery and self control. So I let it get me to the point where I didn't work out. And Garfield noticed about me. I used to weigh 307, now I weigh 165. If I don't get a workout in, it's the equivalent of breathing. It's going to be a real interesting day for whoever is engaging with me, whether it's family or somebody on the street. But what happened was the next day when I woke up, the truth is the problem was still there, but I was mindful that I don't want to feel like I can't move no more. It couldn't last for too long. You see what I'm saying? It's like it didn't stay there. It was a 24-hour thing. And then I was like, wait. And then that's when the discipline of working out came back and was like, no, this is what you got to do. You need to get up and move. You know that you have to do that. And so if I didn't have what I would say, like if I didn't have a record or if I didn't have a routine, you see, I could have kept going because the conversations that we have with ourselves a lot of times are worse than the ones that we hear from other people. And that was one of the situations that happened that day. It's like the conversation took over, but like I said, I let it take over. And then the next day, I was like, no, you can't win like that. And so, like I said, it was the discipline that got me moving to go after the thing that I then was motivated to do.
I think I don't think it's an either or, honestly. And just for sake of conversation, right? I say that because I think Garfield said it earlier. Motivation gets you started, right? But the discipline, it keeps you going, right? And so if you're disciplined to lose that weight, you have to have motivation behind that as well. To look at this, whatever your goal is, and say, you know what, because I'm motivated, I have to be disciplined in order to get to where I want to be, right? If I lose my motivation, the discipline really ain't going. I just don't believe you can have one without the other, right? And I know there's plenty conversations that can go back and forth about that, but I just believe that you need both. I don't think one is more important than the other.
I think it's like an 80-20 rule, right? Part of getting more discipline is knowing that you can take a loss. And also to you can look at some of the greatest competitors and what they've said. Like, you've heard countless NBA players talk about how Kobe used to work out and how he used to shoot, how how he was in the gym shooting for 2 hours after practice, how he was in the weight room, you know what I'm saying? And he had a routine as well. All these guys got routines, right? And he said, in something I'm paraphrasing, he said, if I practice 2 to 4 hours, and if I shoot 2 hours more, work out in the gym 2 hours more, in 4 years, there's just simply no way that anybody could catch me. You know what I'm saying? And whatever it is that I'm doing, and it just makes sense. It's like everybody understands compound interest when it comes down to finances, right? It's the same thing. It's like you build momentum, with each accomplishment, and you have to try. Like the formatting of my first book to the formatting of my third book, completely different. The way that I write, the intention that I write with, is because you experience some level of regret and loss. Like, even if you're in the gym, like that's been one of the center of gravity conversations. You regret not doing that other rep. You regret, you know what I'm saying, the weights that you the number that you didn't hit. And then once you take that loss, that private loss, and you say, I'll be back, because that's where the motivation comes from too. If you're a competitive person with yourself, not in an unhealthy way, but if you believe in chipping away a little bit at a time, and it's not an overnight process, every now and then you get to have a reminder of where you used to be. And if you're in a situation where, maybe in an unhealthy competition, you might even have to get in those every now and then to realize how much more important it is for you to focus on what's important to you. Because some people like I say some people, because most of our obstacles in life are about us giving our time to the wrong people. Like, think about that. Let that settle. You know what I'm saying? Like, we could have been doing so many other things. I've called Garfield. We talked about this before. And there's a plethora of relationship experience up here on this panel. If you had 5% of the money that you wasted with the wrong relationship, you see that? See that right there? Because that makes you appreciate where you at right now. Okay, so you got to take it about that.
Yeah. Now, Vic,
go ahead.
Because I want to ask you, because you made a good point. I heard the Kobe thing. Also, I heard about what he said. My question, then, or I guess if you want to take it as a question, but wouldn't that be he had a motivation because he had a goal that he was trying to reach, right? So if I want to be the best, I'm motivated to be the best. So I know I have to have this discipline in order to do that, right? I have to have this discipline, because if I want to have these many rings, if I want to have these notches under my belt, right, I gotta have that motivation. Cannot leave me. but then I have to have that discipline that sticks in, so that I am disciplined enough to do 2 hours or more shooting, or you know what I mean, 4 hours or more bench work, or whatever the case may be. You see what I'm saying? So I do believe that routine is very much so important. But I guess then the question becomes, where do you go when you don't have that motivation? How does discipline kick in if you just have no
Well,
motivation?
well, everybody's seen. I'm assuming that most people have seen that documentary where Michael Jordan was talking about. What was the name of that documentary that Mike did?
Some of the
The,
last
the
dance.
last dance.
The Last Dance, right? The other team always said never give him any bulletin board material, right?
Yeah.
And he say, I took that personally. You can make someone a target, man. You know what I'm saying? And all of these guys that we use as reference points just for the sake of the conversation, they're all legends. Because when you at the top of the mountain, ain't nobody left. You have to go, you have to go figure something else out, because it's really easy to get arrogant and believe that you don't have to do any more work. But the truth is, everybody want to take your head off. You know, we watched countless um, individual athletes, because like individual sport is, what I'm saying, one of the hardest things in general, right? We watched Tiger Woods and all of the odds. They changed golf courses because of his talent. You know what I'm saying? So they created another motivation, you know what I'm saying, for him, because he was already prepared to dominate anyway. Now you want to try to make it harder, and I'm already better than you can't put something in front of me that I hadn't already imagined. You know what I'm saying? You have to be creative in order to generate motivation, because you're going to sound like a crazy person to the average person that's just curious about what you're doing. Like, there's a big difference in a person that's saying, what's your goal with what you're doing? That's a conversation you can have, versus somebody saying, why are you doing this? That person don't even care about anything. They're just there to criticize. Most people are professionals at criticizing. They are haters at their core, okay? Because there's a large group of people that are mad that they cannot find the motivation that you might get up with every day. But they don't know what you know what I'm saying? They don't know the work that you put in. And some people like to say, oh, you're fortunate. Don't call nobody fortunate when you don't know what it costs them. You don't know what they want. You don't know how they see themselves. It is
Must be
actually,
nice.
yeah, but see, like even now I'm
I
saying
hate
it,
that. I hate when you say it must be nice, bro. I work my butt off. I did 2 deployments in Iraq, bro. It cost me a marriage, bro. I missed relationship with my kids, so don't be like, nah, it must be nice. No, I worked to get in this seat.
Yeah, like they don't. People don't see that. They just see the highlight reel, bro, and they only
Must
see
be
what
nice
you
to have genetics like Chauncey.
Yeah, like they only
Oh,
see
they
what you
take
show them.
thousands of hours in the gym.
That's the social media effect, right? We always gonna show you
Yeah.
a good piece of it, but we don't show you what's going on when these cameras is off. You know what I
That's
mean?
actually the evolution of things, because
Yeah.
you can call it social media in the pocket, right? But in 30 years from now, everybody's gonna grow up with some form of social media. So now you're gonna, like, case in point, tech always separates the field. When I was going to school, my mama said, you got to get out of band. You need to go take some vocational classes. You need to learn how to type, because it went from the typewriter to the computer. Then it went from rotary phones to cell phones, and people got left behind. I don't need a phone everywhere I go. Now you can't even fill out a job application. You know what I'm saying? It's tech separates the field, and where we are right now with AI in its inception through machine learning, and where we are right now, there are going to be some people that think that jobs are going to be there, and they're not, unless they, like, you're going to have to go get dirty again. There is no going backwards once things start getting set in motion. You know what I'm saying? So you have to create a different motivation, a different purpose, and it needs to be in alignment with the resources that are already out here.
I want to appreciate everybody. One thing I want to slide over to right now is strength. We got about 15 minutes or so, then we're going to wrap this podcast up, gentlemen. But I would like to get to strength and maybe some inspiration if we got time, but I don't know. But when it comes to strength, we look at you brought up social media, and that's something like you said we're all part of now. When I didn't get my first cell phone until I was a whole adult. So I didn't grow up with one in my hand or anything like that. But when it comes to strength, we look at, Chauncey may have gotten different lessons about strength and what it looks like to be a man versus me. I think I'm the old guy up here. I'm 50. I'm the oldest guy up here, I think. So with it's like the message that I got from my dad or from the people in my family versus they got may be a little bit different. So like now, if we looking out here, I got sons right now. My sons are 21, 24, and 31. So they different ages, and but I kind of want to dig into this a little bit. So what does it look like? What does real strength look like in today's world? And when I'm talking about this, I'm talking about men. What does it look like for man? What does real man strength look like in today's world?
Well, I had to learn this after I got divorced because I became a full time father, and I had to learn how to be very dynamic. And you talk about having AI, having to learn AI and learn different things that you, as a man, probably didn't have to do before. Being dynamic for me, having to cook dinner every day for my kids, having to wash clothes and make sure they keep up with their chores and things like that. That was tough on me at first, and then I learned how to pivot and make it work for us. And then at the end of the day, when you think about the world as a whole right now, change is inevitable. Everywhere you look, you're gonna find something that's gonna be different. Whether it's gonna be in like your Walmart or your Target, they got the self checkout things, and you hear a lot of people who say, "I hate the self checkout because it's taking away jobs." It's not taking away jobs; it's trying to make things more convenient for its consumers. But at the end of the day, you're always gonna have those people who don't want to deal with the change. So, strength for me, you got to be dynamic and willing to accept change.
I, I would say for me, it's a couple of things. One is first being willing to listen, right? I think if you're able to take instruction and you're able to listen, no matter your level of or what you think your level of intelligence is, somebody can teach you something, right? I think that is um, that's a strength. And then also, I think being able to being comfortable in uncomfortable positions, right? Being able to kind of adapt and overcome. I think that's kind of what you was just hitting on, Walt, too, is just being able to adapt and overcome whatever's going on, right? When I am uncomfortable, I have to make sure that I'm comfortable because I got to get up out of this, right? Whatever that may be. And so I think having those, being able to really sit back and listen, as Vic would say, comprehend, right? Being able to comprehend, and then also being comfortable in uncomfortable positions. And then the last thing I would say is being able to control your emotions. I think as a man, that's the biggest thing that hinders us, is not being able to control our emotions. So I think when you're able to combine those three things, I think you're at least off to a good start.
And I like that. Only thing I want to add, I'm gonna keep mine short. Um, Darn it, I forgot that fast. I'll come back around. Somebody go and then I come back. Forgot
All
that
right,
fast.
I got you. I was writing these things down. Uh,
Just writing stuff down, man.
Being willing to adapt and be coachable, meaning you got to learn something new. You got to do what somebody else tells you to do. Again, like I said, a man's life ain't easy. It's not supposed to be easy. Because I can make that relate back to myself. Like I went from uh, running a short term rental business where I had like 11 Airbnb doors, and then it was financially successful, right? It had some losses, some ups and downs because when you deal with people, you deal with people, right? Got maintenance, and then I started experiencing triggers to my PTSD, and it was coming from people that cannot be managed. Whereas before, when you work in the military, they respect the position and the rank and the structure. You don't have to care about the individual that's in the seat, but you still got to do what the policies tell you to do. There's a reinforcement there, right? In the civilian world, you don't have that. Somebody decide they're gonna do some drugs in your place, and then you can do about that, but react to it. So I shut it all down, and I went and got uh, some training to learn how to climb. I work in the wind industry, and I change major components in wind turbines. So climb 300 feet, work on cranes, and do a lot of heavy lifting. And I was willing to go do that, despite what I'm saying, where I originally started. You got to have have a plan. If you believe in your plan, you got to have a dream that goes along with it to keep you motivated, right? So there's the yin and the yang and the 80-20, right? You got to be willing to endure. Because again, a man's life ain't easy. The reason we up here talking in the center of the conversation is about how hard life actually is. It's not easy. The only reason it's easy to have a conversation because you've already done something hard and you endured it and you got to this point where you have something to talk about. If you don't have nothing to talk about, you haven't done anything. It's simple. Being prayerful, like whatever form of meditation, sitting with yourself, being willing to be patient with your own emotions, and being honest about how mad you actually are sometimes or angry, and being willing to go sit in the corner and maybe you need to wallow a little bit, but you can't keep wallowing. You know what I'm saying? Maybe you feel like maybe the punishment that you're getting is something that you earned as well. You earn everything, good, bad, and indifferent. Nobody deserves anything. You only get what you earn. So if you didn't speak up, didn't say something, you earned whatever. You let somebody else make the decision for you, and you got to take that. So
Yeah.
After you get through being mad at the other person, getting mad at the situation, and being mad at yourself, what you gonna do about it? That's hard, and that's where strength comes from.
I think I got mine. I appreciate the ones we got so far. So I put down no. What does real strength look like? In today's world, real strength look like as a man is being able to say no. That was something I didn't really learn. I'm 50. I didn't learn it until I was in my 40s. The power of saying no. Like, we talked about earlier, like, being selfish and different things like that. Like being able to say no sometimes. Like, I don't want to have this. I don't want to talk. I don't want to have a 3-hour conversation about this and that and all the people at work that get on your nerves. Like my time is more valuable with that. I'm limited in the amount of time that I have in a day. So boundaries and the ability and to say no is one of the things that I think when it comes to men that real strength looks like being able to say no. And it doesn't mean just say no to every single thing. It means having discernment in the things that you choose to say no to. Maybe in this relationship, I choose to say no to the women. Maybe I choose to say no to the drugs, whatever you into, the massages, whatever it is that you're into that's causing problems or hindering you or keeping you from moving forward, saying no to those things. So again, my just answer to this is when it comes to what does strength look like in men is being able to say no and create boundaries in their life.
I have one. I think it's being able to. Oh, go ahead, Vic. You got it.
No, I was about to say that's real good, man. I got to give him his props. He be up here coaching, man. He always get it down to like the simplest word, man. Like, and that's dope. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. The one that I was going to say is, and it's the one I think that a lot of times we don't want to do, but I think it being able to stand alone. Because I think that there are times when, there are times just when as a society, we're called to do things. As a community, sometimes we're called to do things as a group or even as a like a crew, we're called to do things. And then that person who can, and I don't mean, and I'm not, even though it takes strength, even if you're wrong, but I'm talking about the person who stands alone. It's like, look, I'm really trying to hold down to the values that we've all established. Seems like something's going on that's knocking us off our square. I'm trying to just hold tight. You see what I'm saying? Like, I'm not trying to be, I ain't trying to have an issue with y'all, but I'm just trying to hold tight. And so I think sometimes that's a sign too.
I just want to throw accountability out there too. I think that's important, and I say that because Vic said something that kind of triggered my thought process. And I'll tell you real quick. When I first came in, I met Garfield early on, and I used to get in trouble a lot in the military, man. And I used to make excuses all the time. And he always used to say, "You did that. You got to go figure that out." And I'm trying to figure out why I'm getting in trouble, why they doing the extra stuff they doing to me. But he just like, I came in 19, 20 years old. So he really put that on me, and that's kind of stuck with me. So I just wanted to throw accountability out there real quick.
There is no accountability without discipline. It's just a performance. Because you can just go. Go ahead. Go ahead, Sue.
No, I'm gonna throw this back in there too. It goes back to what I initially said, man. About being knowledgeable, man. None of this stuff exists if you don't know you have these issues with yourself, man. Man. For years, man, I used to have a pretty bad attitude and stuff. It didn't always come out, but when it did, it'd be pretty bad, man. And so, for about the past, I would say 10 years, almost 10 years, I was in management, manager and all that kind of stuff, past job, most recent job was a manager and supervisor. And I had to learn, man, man, who was it that said, you gotta know that, you can't act a certain way. You're dealing with these people. It was you, Vic. Dealing with these people, it's not the military, man, they have a lot more things to say that you can't do anything about. And I had to learn how to control that temper, man, and man, it was tough, but, it was something that I knew I had to do, and I had to learn how to do it. That's why, man, just, having, the knowledge to be able to say, I need to do this different. I need to, everything that everybody touched on here, it's like at some point it's like, man, I can do more of this stuff, I can be more disciplined. I can learn how to say no more, be more selfish, all that kind of stuff. Pay somebody paint as opposed to being in here at, 6 o'clock, 8 o'clock at night trying to paint this new house, man. But, man, it's just, that knowledge, man, and that's, man, there was a hip hop song out, man, a while back, man. And, one of the things they were saying was knowledge itself, man. And, that's, I think that's where, strength for me would come from, is just knowing, the places that I can improve on. And then at that point, that's when I can, make changes to, find, where I need to improve at and become my strongest,
I got to say this too. Strength comes from competence. Being able to do something and withstand criticism because you're right, which goes back to standing alone. Like, I have a nomadic mindset. I'll do it. Like, if I know that my purpose is righteous, there ain't nothing that you can say that can change my mind if what I'm talking about solves the simple problem. I'm not trying to, like, as a content creator, author, whatever, yeah, we can be very, very stubborn about what hill we're gonna die on. But because, like, you hear people try to come at you, say, "Oh, you think you know everything?" Yeah, that's why I speak when I'm spoken to. I don't talk about nothing I don't know. Everything else I ask a question about. Because after a certain point in your life, after a certain level of experience, what do we all look like talking to Chauncey and he giving us advice like he big bro? You know what I'm saying? That's no disrespect, because there's plenty of young men that's got a plethora of experience in a completely different lane that we haven't lived in. But as a man in your 40s, you are supposed to be agreeable. You are supposed to be a wealth of information, not a competitor. You're supposed to be a mentor. That's part of the reason, like the book, Accountable Masculinity, I wrote 5 principles in there. Rule number 1 was men focus on themselves. So that captures all of the selfishness because nobody picks up a phone and calls useless men. Rule number 2, you got no time to argue with women. They got their own problems. You take you out of all their problems, they still got problems by themselves and with each other. Decentralized leadership is rule number 3 because every man has some level of authority over his life. So every man is worth listening to, especially if what they're saying adds value to the topic. 4, legacy and equity. What you do counts, good, bad, and different. People remember how you affect them. So give them something that affects their life in a positive way. And the 5th one is the most important, is sexual discipline. Just because you can doesn't mean you should entertain every woman that's attracted to you. You've seen plenty of evidence of these negative outcomes where men are thinking what they meet and end up in the wrong cheeks. You know what I'm saying? And then now they got a lifetime of chaos. And the worst thing you could do is make a child with the wrong woman, you know, because you're giving literally a genetic piece of your leverage away that you're not going to get back again until you maybe 20 some years, maybe 20 years from now. And now you got to start a reclamation project about who you actually are. So if a man can follow those 5 things, it doesn't matter what gets thrown at it. It doesn't, because nobody even knows who men are until you screw up.
Yeah, we're gonna see if anybody else want to tackle this, and then we're gonna get into the last question and be very respectful of you guys' time. We're gonna wrap it up. So if anybody else want to chomp on this who haven't, go ahead and do so, and then we're gonna hit the next question. Going once, going twice, say less. Here we go. We're going down to this last question. So the last question of the night is this. The last question of the night is this. If every young man watching remembered just one thing from tonight, what would you want it to be? Now, this question, it is what it is, but feel free to leave any of your 2 cents when it comes to value, strength, and inspiration, or anything like that. And what I'm going to do, gentlemen, I'm going to blow you up on the screen. So I'm going to literally go around. I'm going to go Walt. I'm going to go, I'm gonna blow y'all up solo. We'll go Walt, Chauncey, Vic, George, Kevin, and then Dr. Easley. All right, y'all ready? All right, let's go. So again, just pretty much like your final thoughts or just anything you want to share about tonight or anything as far as the topic, and then we're gonna wrap up the show. As soon as I find the button. And there we go.
All right, so I'm batting lead off here, so I appreciate that big time. The one thing I would say to wrap my thoughts up about tonight is we learned a lot about how people can be selfish, how people can develop routines and be disciplined. For me, I would say you have to be disciplined in your life every day, whether that's being selfish, planning your days out, using your calendars, doing this, that, the other. Being disciplined is very important for you to get through your days. It's very important for you to be able to communicate with others around you. And when you're disciplined, you're not going to fail. You can't fail because you have a goal in mind that at the end of the day, if you're disciplined enough to reach that goal and are successful, you can set a new goal on something else and continue that success with doing something a little bit different. So I'm leaving you with just being disciplined, moving forward with that, and that's all I got.
If I could leave somebody with one thing, would just be a student and just be willing to learn. And yeah, by everybody, from every man that you meet, every person that you meet, whether it's their failures or success, just take the knowledge from it and just build. And yeah, just kind of what you were just saying, just be disciplined and just take it all the way.
Be the thermostat. Don't be the thermometer. Control your space and recognize when you have influence and respect your influence. Don't feed the people that trust you with insecurity. Make sure that you're giving off the very thing that you want to be. So be the thermostat. You control your temperature, and then that's going to change the entire climate around you.
Know the people that are around you, the people that are in your space. Allow the right people in your life to be around you. People that's going to drain your energy, not contribute anything to your life, man. Especially when it comes to relationships, whether it be family or the one in your life. Know who's going to be supporting you in the right way, man. People can be vampires, drain your energy. When it comes to your friends, what do they say? Show me your friends and I'll show you your future. Have the right people around you.
Yeah, so for me, I would just want them to know that um the things that you do when nobody is watching will eventually become the person that they see every day, right? So um just make smart decisions, be emotionally sound, be able to control those emotions, and don't wait to feel motivated. Find your goal, and just continue to follow it. And I think somebody else hit on what I wanted to say, but again, just always be able to listen, be able to take in knowledge that's going to be useful and use it, and whatever isn't, throw it out.
Have a vision for yourself, be accountable for, and be responsible to. And don't be afraid to create and seek. Be patient with yourself.
My last little words is it's not a lot. If you look at everything that everybody said today, there was a lot of good things that were said. So my final thought is to advocate and push for men to get a wolf pack. Um, there's a lot of different brothers up here with a lot of different experiences, lifestyles that are different, perspective, all of those different things. But one of the things that I learned tonight, and I think all of us learn something tonight, you know what I mean, from each other. And it would have been mentioned more than once, So I think that one of the good things about value, strength, inspiration, knowledge, discipline, everything that you heard tonight on this show, all of those things we all can grow in. And I think that when we have people who believe in, acquiring more knowledge, and then we have people who believe in acquiring discipline, and you associate yourself with these people, these men, your wolf pack, I think you just makes for a better overall young man in general. So that's kind of my little thought for this evening. So, gentlemen, I definitely appreciate everybody for being here tonight. It is time to wrap up the show. If you guys got a couple of minutes, just staying behind the show. I'm gonna wrap it up real quick. But y'all don't have anything, let me know, and then I'm gonna end the show. Y'all got anything? All right, gentlemen. I will see y'all if anybody's around. We'll be back again next week for the panel will look a little different. Some people will be here. There will be some different people here. But again, we got 6 shows, 6 different panels. Some of them may look similar, some of them maybe look a little bit different. But again, apologize for going over a couple of minutes, gentlemen. Please forgive me. Audience, the same thing. With that being said, we are out.